Hello, everyone. Welcome to Commander's Pod. My name is Duncan. I'm joined by Jeff.
What's up?
And Sloan.
Hello.
And we thank you for joining our pod today. We got a few things we want to discuss. Now, the big thing is Nadu. Nadu. The bad word bird. I'm just telling you, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about things that don't do what you think they do. We're going to be talking about pro tips for players from Sloan. Mm-hmm. And so Tales from the Table today. It's kind of fitting in with the theme. I just did a CEDH tournament last weekend, and I played Nadu. I felt like it was doing a bad thing for a good cause. Because once I built it and started play testing it, I've told you guys, it was just absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It was very hard to interact with because targeting Nadu triggers Nadu.
Right.
Did I get to play him against you guys? I don't remember.
I played against him once.
You did, yeah.
Twice. I'm sorry.
I don't know why I would agree to that.
And I think the thing that's weird about it, from my point of view, is that it doesn't take a lot to kind of know how to play them. It's pretty straightforward.
Right.
And two, it doesn't take a lot to get them going.
Right. Well, we'll talk more about that later.
Right.
But this is about the CDH tournament. So to give you an idea, so this CDH tournament, they do about once every couple months at our local game shop. And we can have anywhere from 12 to 48 people, I think was the biggest we have, show up. And prizes, they've had some really good prizes. They had a Lion's Eye Diamond one time, and they had
Gaia's Cradle was one.
Gaia's Cradle one time.
And then I think they did a box one time too.
Yeah, they've done boxes a few times. That was a common one. This time it was for the Commander decks from Modern Horizons 3, the collector's editions.
Right.
And originally they were going to say, all 4 decks go to one person, but that's like $1,000, or it was at the time they were planning on doing it. So what they did is, which I like better, they said the top 4 will get the decks, and first place gets to pick their choice, and then second place and third place, blah, blah, blah. But, so, first round, I won in 5 minutes. Not 15, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was
guaranteed because the others gave up.
Oh, 100% because they gave up. Because the thing about Nadu is it takes a long time to resolve. But it can become very apparent very quickly that nobody can do anything to stop it.
Right.
Could you say it becomes very apparent?
Yeah, sure. 5 minutes before they realized there was nothing they can do, and I was just going to do this with my entire library.
Right.
Because the thing about Nadu is if you have any way to flicker him at all, it resets all the triggers.
Right.
All right. So that's number one. Number two is if you have anything like Scoot Swarm, or there's I think it's called Nantuko's Bargain or something like that. It's a bestow.
Yeah,
that says whenever you a land comes into play, you make a 1/1 insect, or you make a copy of the creature that it's bestowed on.
Yeah, and then I think Field of the Dead too is another one. I think if you have is that the one where if you have 7 or more lands, you can deal damage to your opponents, or is that the one that creates zombies?
Zombie.
You get zombies.
That's what it is.
Yeah, so another thing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is I have in there lands that either are creatures or become creatures, like Dryad Arbor. Mm-hmm. So I get a land and it's a creature. So it became very apparent very quick. I already had I was having troubles representing my board because I had so many tokens and so many things just in that first 5 minutes.
Right.
And they just said, one of the guys said, if nobody can stop them, that's game. And I said, okay, well, I'm just bringing this up to be fair because it matters we were only doing 2 rounds. So the top 4, because there were 4 pods, would go on to the next round. But then there was backup prizes. But anyway, it mattered who came in second, third, and fourth.
Right, yeah.
And I said, does anybody want to, if you guys want, I'm just offering, I can just say that this goes on because the way they had said it is we weren't doing time because it would have, if you go to time, whoever's Nadu's probably going to win anyway.
Right.
So they said, we won't do time, but it's unlimited time, but if somebody wants to concede, they can. And so what we did is they said, okay, you win. And I said, I'll go and I'll get Thassa's Oracle and I'll win that way. Right. That's the way I'll do it. That way it's I win, not somebody loses. So the other 3 lost equally. And the way they had said is then those 3 can continue playing.
Right.
Right. So anyway, so that's how I won first round. Second round,
That's a smart way to set that up. I like that a lot. I don't know.
There's been some real feel bads when it goes to turns and nobody wins.
I like
but
that.
There's one player that was very clearly way ahead.
Yeah.
But by magic rules, that's not, you didn't win.
Right.
You just have a better board state, and that's not a win con.
Okay. No, I like that.
So anyway, that was on turn 3. Second round, so the final round of the tournament, I turn 2 started doing my thing. And problem was then I only had one creature and Nadu. But I had some really good cards in hand, and I had an artifact that targeted. I had liquid metal torque. So if you tap that, target creature becomes a target permanent becomes an artifact. So there's a target in and of itself. And one of the creatures I had untaps a permanent, so I can do that twice. So I've already had some stuff going. So I started doing my thing, and I got fairly far, but I got to the point where I only have 1 mana left, and I did have some single mana targets, but I had nothing left to target. Everything had been targeted twice, and I didn't get any of the things that made the creatures or became a creature that was a land, so I had to pass turn. But I was like, it was turn 2. And unfortunately, though, the player who went right before me on his next turn, so on turn 3, he was the starting player, he started going off.
Yeah.
I even had a counter spell in my hand, but I didn't have the mana to do it.
Right.
So he ended up winning that round, even with one other player having a counter spell, which he used on him, which I'm like, great, that means I definitely win on my turn. But no, the other player won. So
you got greedy.
I didn't get greedy. I tried to do my thing, and I couldn't do it. I was going for, in CEDH, you go for your win. You don't ever.
So you had a chance to win.
Yes.
Right.
But it just petered out. I ran out of gas. It comes down to luck in the early stages.
If you would have waited one more turn with the counter in your hand, although if the
I got the counter. I got the counter because of Nadu's triggers.
So you had no choice.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but he won with a I win mechanic. So then second, third, and fourth is still determinable. And then on my turn, I just went, and there was nothing anybody could do again.
Yeah.
So, but
that's the thing, in my opinion, that makes CDH not fun.
But yeah, that's my CDH story, and it ties into the Nadu thing, and we'll get more into Nadu later and how we feel about it and what we think is going to happen. But
congrats, you did come in second. You did get the
Tricky
Eldrazi.
Terrain. No, I got the Tricky Terrain. Eldrazi is the most expensive deck, so the first player took that one.
So you took
but Tricky Terrain was the next most expensive. The problem now is I don't know what I'm going to do with it because I already have the regular Tricky Terrain, and I don't care about the bling.
Well, maybe we can work something out. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yep. But anyway, so that's that. So that will feed into when we talk about Nadu later.
Yeah.
But that's my personal experience with Nadu. I thought there would be a lot of Nadu players there, and there weren't, which was surprising. And some of the players that I faced, the first table for sure, none of them had faced Nadu, so none of them knew what to expect or what to face, which helped with that win.
100%.
With nobody
Right.
having interaction. But I also don't really see any opportunity where they did something beforehand that would have.
Yeah, how do you stop it?
Yeah.
I will say I have something that I found specifically because I was looking for interaction, and I'll bring it up and then when we get to Nadu as the main topic. But I actually found a card that I think would at least slow him down a little bit. That I thought would be fun.
All right, that's interesting.
I got a couple.
I know of several, but
I have a couple
You also have
that
to get those cards.
yes, you have to have them in your hand. But anyway, so
Before turn 3.
So that's my little play story from my tournament. But let's move on to our counterspell segment. This one's not going to be as much of a, I don't think, argument as just kind of a discussion. But what universes beyond would you like to see? They have Marvel on the books. They have their Assassin's Creed for us is coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, for us at the time of this recording, it's coming out tomorrow, and I got my...
Because we're recording way ahead of time because I'm taking some time off. But
Right.
yeah, so it's tomorrow for us. For you guys, it'll be almost a month before that this happened. And then they just did Doctor Who, and they did Fallout. But what would you like to see? We have lots of Marvel already coming, so that's done. But
Yeah, I mean, so for me, there's a couple of like video games I think they could get into, like they did with the Assassin's Creed. I think that would be pretty cool. I would like for them to actually do an actual League of Legends set, not just a secret layer, because the secret layers, right, are just like kind of new arts of cards. They're not really new cards or anything or new mechanics, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah. So I think I would like to actually
Well,
see.
they can be new mechanics. Wasn't
They
Street
have done
Fighter?
that before.
Street Fighter was new mechanics.
Yeah, but so what they have said, they used to come out with new mechanics, like Walking Dead had new mechanics that they've never then
Right.
recreated.
Well, what they said was if they do that, they'll then release in the next set the non-secret layer version of that
Right,
card, which is
so-
what they did.
You're right. So it can introduce a mechanic, but it won't be unique eventually.
Yeah, so you could get, if you
So-
wanted League of Legends, you could get a secret layer League of Legends with mechanics.
But they already made a secret layer, is what I'm saying, and they
Oh, they
didn't do
did?
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they did for Fallout as well.
Did it
Yeah.
sell well? Because I don't even remember hearing about it.
It was like 4 years ago, I think.
Oh, wow.
Maybe
I don't think
5.
it was that popular. It was niche popular, but because they
Okay.
did nothing new with it.
Yeah, it was just new arts of cards that existed. It was just
Yep.
All right.
they put League of Legends characters' names on them. So I think if they did an actual League of Legends set, I think that'd be pretty cool. There's some other games that they could bring into the world. I'm trying to think of ones that wouldn't be like too gimmicky though, like too far. Like Super Mario, as cool as I think it would be to have, like Super Mario cards, I think that's a little
Yeah,
too.
it's a little too goofy.
yeah,
It's
a little
like-
too goofy for the world. But I think
Oh,
there's.
but maybe the treasure tokens would be insane in that.
Oh yeah, like the coins.
Yeah.
Yeah, make the Mario coins, the treasure
Ugh.
tokens and stuff. But I do think there's potentially some room for some games. Like I know like another good one could potentially be, again, it might be a little bit difficult, but like the Call of Duty series, because there's like 70 games of those, and you know I feel like there's some things you could do in there, especially too with some of the battle royales that they've created, like PlayerUnknown's Battleground and Fortnite, and I'm sure they can figure out ways to do stuff with that too. Apex Legends is another really big.
Right. I mean, they did Fortnite as well, but they did the same thing as with.
Right, it was more of a thing. So I think they could dive more into video games and try to find video games like they did with Assassin's Creed, where they have a lot of characters to pick from that they can make new cards from, and they can come up with new mechanics. So it's just finding a video game with a really good.
Legend of Zelda might be a good.
That would be a good one. Legends of Zelda would be awesome. That would be a sick one to do. Playing Link and Zelda.
I don't know how
and
hard it is to get
Gandalf.
those from Nintendo, though.
I mean, I think for
We'll have to
Nintendo,
see.
that's not free advertising, but I think it's like you're going to pay me
to advertise my stuff.
It might be.
And I will say
Might
too,
be.
I
They
think
haven't-
Legend of Zelda has a huge following because it's been around since the NES. So it's
Yeah.
like 30 years or something like that. It's been around.
So I think video games is definitely a way to go. I have some thoughts on things too.
You could also, like I said, Marvel's pretty much there, but you could say which Marvel stuff. Like we've pretty much been told for sure that X-Men is coming, so we know that one. But if there's other Marvel stuff that
Sure.
you don't specifically have that's coming, you could say what ones if there was something.
Yeah.
by the-
So I'm gonna go a little different way with my first one, which is, Hasbro has a deep pocket of nostalgia to grab from. And I don't actually know why they haven't done this more. So they did Transformers, right?
yeah.
But the age of the people who play Magic would probably bode well for the nostalgia. But like G.I. Joe, you got like those classic cartoon stuff, and they've done a little bit of it because didn't they do the cartoon Dungeons and Dragons? Was a secret
Yep.
layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that did pretty well. So any of that type of nostalgic stuff I think is really fun. And I'm not saying it has to be just G.I. Joe. I'm saying they ought to just do like Saturday morning cartoons and just release a bunch of nostalgic stuff. And I think that could be really fun.
So I'd be a little hesitant. I don't want Bugs Bunny. I love Bugs Bunny. Don't get me wrong, but I
No,
don't
I'm
want,
talking Hasbro stuff mostly. So
Mostly
wouldn't that
Hasbro,
be
okay.
like G.I. Joe?
when they've already done
He-Man?
Transformers.
Yeah, but there's a lot of them.
I think He-Man was Mattel.
Is it?
I believe so. I don't think
don't
it's
know.
Hasbro.
Well, then
Listen,
maybe
you guys
that's
are
how they
older
do
than
it.
But
me,
there
I
is
don't know.
Barbie.
Yeah, I'm not really in for Barbie.
No,
but-
you don't want a Barbie.
Although that could be very funny.
You don't want Jake Gyllenhaal on your card? Being
No,
Ken?
not that Barbie. I'm just saying if they made like some of the evil characters in the Barbie,
Oh,
that'd
that's
be
right.
hilarious.
It's Ryan
What,
Gosling.
what
our
was the
producer.
one you just said, Jack?
It's Ryan Gosling
Ryan
is
Gosling.
Ken,
Oh,
not
yeah,
Jake
yeah.
Gyllenhaal. I'm sorry.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the correction.
Yeah.
Thank you, producer.
And then the other direction is I think continuing to do like the art cards, artist featured cards are really fun for me. But I would like to see them step more out of using just they haven't only used Magic artists, but they have a bunch. Go out and grab some other artists out there and come in and do some art versions of the cards. Like you could even do like more modern art designs on the card where they'll just look very weird. Because if you can do meme cards, which they've done, you could definitely do some interesting art cards.
You could do an unset and do Bugs Bunny. Do but Universes Beyond.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. That would be a great one.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I don't care about that.
That could be the Saturday morning crazy cartoons, the Boomerang stuff, the,
Yosemite Sam.
Yep. Yosemite Sam.
Roadrunner.
Yep. Elmer Fudd.
Yep. Do you got one for that?
Elmer Fudd is Wasquay Wabbit.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there
Well
you go.
done.
Yeah.
But no,
I got most of 'em.
I just would. Some of the art ones I've looked at them. I've gone. I wanna see a great art one, but there haven't been any that I've really been like, that's amazing.
No,
The one with the guy who used to draw on TV,
Bob Ross.
that was pretty cool.
That
More
was
stuff
cool.
like that.
That was cool, but they also want a lot of money for 5 lands.
I don't
what
care.
I mean? If you're going to do, I want all my lands to look like that. It's not like, hey, maybe I'll hit this land once every 10 games. If I pay that much
but that's a
for a simple land,
I feel
want
like
it
that's a different subject. That's us getting into, because that's a whole nother topic on the lands for Secret Layers. So I think a lot of people agree with you. I agree with you, but I still loved that because it was an artist who's not a Magic artist, and I think there's such rich. When we collect Magic cards. There's people that collect art. Like I love Salvador Dali art. Not that obviously you can't do cards by Salvador Dali. That won't work. But
you certainly could.
Yeah, you could. AI could definitely
you have to
generate
get the
it.
licensing, but
yeah, but that would kind of go against that would not be in good taste. I don't think.
why? What's the difference between that and Bob Ross? They're both dead artists who can't.
How did they do the Bob Ross then? That's a good
his
point.
estate.
They asked
wild.
his estate, and I guess they agreed, and then they took the pictures that he painted, and then they just put them on the card.
So then maybe they could. I would gather Salvador Dali would be very expensive.
Yeah,
to
I
do
think
that.
it would be a much more expensive endeavor.
But nonetheless, my point stands is that more stuff like that I think would be very cool because people collect art, and they also we collect Magic cards, and why not just do both?
I do think one of the things that they've been doing for a lot of these sets that I enjoy, and they're doing it with the Assassin's Creed one, they did with Lord of the Rings, is the ones that make like a full portrait. I like the idea of the cards being full art cards, and then you can put them together and it makes a picture.
Right.
I think that's a cool idea because just to let everybody know, I don't know if I talked about this, but my sister for my birthday a couple weeks ago, she bought me the Lord of the Rings box that did that. And I opened it up, and it has a display thing that you put on it, and it puts all the cards right next to each other.
So you're talking about the ones they came out with the Christmas holiday special edition that were the box set, and there was a Galadriel and a.
Yeah, it was like $40,
Yep.
and you got 6 cards, and you
Yep.
got the foil version, and you got a stand with it, and you put them on the stand, and it makes the picture
Yeah.
with the cards on it. And I thought that was really cool. So when I opened it up, you also got 3 packs with it, and you got the art card version of them. So
Right.
instead of just having the play, you have the play ones, but then you could take those down and put up the art card if you want to play with those, and you still have the picture.
Right. Yeah, no, I thought that was very cool.
So I thought that was a cool idea, and I think it kind of goes into what Jeff's saying with having the art be more than just what it is, like having it maybe nod to artists or everything. I think that you could definitely do that, which I think they're doing a better job of with the basic lands for sets. Like they're doing that. I think that's cool that these lands look like what the universe they're in is. So the Assassin's Creed one has the lands that look like parts of the worlds of Assassin's Creed. They did it for Lord of the Rings. They did it for Phyrexian when they did the Aftermath. They had the oil slick, I think is what they were called. So I think they're doing a really cool job with that. And I think that is important to have the lands look like that. Because even in Lost Caverns of Ixalan, they did like Jurassic Park lands where it was like the parts of the park or whatever.
They did, and they were pretty cool. I got a bunch of them.
Yeah, I got them in the box I got.
And didn't
too.
they do like dual-sided?
Yeah,
lands?
some of them were.
On one side it's the normal, but on the other side
It was like the
Jurassic
night
Park.
version, and it was like one side had like the science, because I have a land that's like that. It's a forest on both sides, but one side it's like the daytime with the scientists, and the other side's like a dinosaur broken through the fence and it's night. So that was cool too.
So,
But back to the main topic,
Right.
Duncan, what do you have other than the Bugs Bunny?
So I think there's a lot of licensing they can do with some popular IPs like Game of Thrones, and that I think thematically.
I mean,
fit.
that would be huge. If
Game
they
of
got
Thrones. There's a fantasy series I like, and I don't count the TV series because they strayed too far. But Wheel of Time, the Wheel of Time books are. I mean, they have 14 books to draw from. There's a lot of characters. There's magic in it.
Yeah.
So I think again thematically that would fit. So I think they should do things like that. Reach out to those ones that definitely have the fantasy feel, and use them. But I also think they've gone into some crazy territory. So I'd even be okay with like a Star Wars. I'd be okay with that. You could work the Force into the magic system.
Dude, I would be down for Star Wars.
Right?
That'd be friggin' awesome.
And I feel like too, if they went to, because I don't know if George Lucas still has any kind of rights to it.
He does not.
He doesn't. He 100% sold all of them.
Yeah, it's all Disney.
Dang it, that sucks. I was gonna say, because even if he retained a little bit of rights, it'd be like, just go to him. Don't
I
go
mean,
to Disney.
I think I think he got a lot of
if
shares
Disney
in
just
Disney. So in that
guys,
respect.
if Disney just did Marvel, there's no reason why it's not.
I think
for
it's
them to do Star
on.
Wars.
I think for sure it's on.
100%. And then the other thing is like you could even do other sci-fi stuff because sci-fi into magic for me would be kind of cool. Like Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica,
Star Trek.
Oh my gosh,
Firefly.
If they did
Don't you like Firefly
Trek,
too?
I'd be.
Firefly
going
would
nuts.
be awesome.
Firefly
but I think
would
it's
be cool.
You know what's crazy? I'm gonna point this out to everybody for listening for us. I only know the name of these shows because these two guys are older than me and they watch them. And Jeff specifically is obsessed with Babylon 5 and Firefly.
You didn't watch the Firefly
I never
movie?
watched any of them.
Watch the Firefly movie, even if you don't watch the series.
Serenity, by the way.
Serenity.
Yeah.
So the other thing I think would be cool to dip into, because I definitely think the sci-fi thing would work. That would be dope. Like vehicles are starships. Like you can crew.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
There's a lot to do there. I think the two things that came to mind is there's definitely some animes that have huge followings that they could do. That would be pretty dope. One of the ones that's like the biggest is Naruto, which is just a show about ninjas. So you could literally come up with a whole ninjutsu set just from Naruto, which would be dope. And then you have like My Hero Academia, which is a superhero based
Last
one.
Airbender.
Avatar: Last Airbender would also be
That would probably be a really
amazing.
good one because that's pretty mainstream.
Yeah, and that's and especially because Netflix has the show on it too. So, and then the other thing is since they're dipping in the Marvel, I think it'd be dope if they went to DC because there's a lot of good.
Oh, I would
anti-heroes.
I would love to see DC.
There's a lot of
okay.
really
So
good
here's what I want to say
anti-heroes.
overall on all of these. What I don't want any more of, not even one more, and I know they will keep doing it, is the reskins. I hate it.
Yeah.
I do not want reskins. I want new functional cards that fit with the theme of what you're doing.
I love reskins.
Here's my thing. If they do it on the right card and it makes sense, I think it's fine. If they just throw it on a random card, because I know your big thing was Ash from
Evil Dead. And the Princess Bride. Both of those, they
I wish
did
I would
them
have bought
dirty.
the Princess Bride ones.
I got the only card I wanted out of it, which was Vizini, and I just bought them afterwards.
Yeah.
Because that was Brawl Chief of Compliance, and I have a Brawl Chief of Compliance, but heck, and I'd rather it be Vizini.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No,
and
that's exactly why I like reskins for exactly that reason.
But I think
here's the thing.
You have to put them on the right card.
Finn the Fang Bearer as being reskinned as Dreadpire Roberts Wesley
doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't make
so
any
your
sense
issue
at all.
isn't with the reskins then. Your issue is which ones they're reskinning.
Yeah, well, okay, so yes, if they're not going to do a good job on
right,
choosing the
which is
reskin,
my issue
yeah,
with it.
that I agree with that 100%.
because they did two of my favorite IPs, Princess Bride and Evil Dead. They're two of my favorites, and they did them both dirty.
and this is something the whole audience should really understand. When it comes to this, we want Wizards to just
be better.
be better, right?
Yeah. I mean, I will say like there is definitely cards that you can find to make fit for characters, especially because there's so many Magic cards. And then like you said, okay, we don't have a great card that we can reskin for them. We'll just make them a new card.
Right.
Like problem solved. Like it's not a very hard thing to do clearly.
But to me, it's laziness. It is pure, unadulterated laziness. They buy an IP and they're like, okay, so we're not going to put the development into making new cards and testing them and all that. We're just going to reskin. Give me 5 suggestions. Okay, out of those 5, I'll take this one. I swear that's how they do it.
Right.
Because they put no thought at all into it. Death Touch with Wesley.
Sometimes they have though.
They have
sometimes they've
sometimes.
knocked it out of the park. And
I guess Vicini, it's
Yeah.
okay. It's still
Yeah.
not great. I still would rather some kind of like mastermind
Yeah.
themed.
But they have to be careful when they do new mechanics on Secret Layers because there's a lot of balancing that goes into
Well, and
it.
people get salty about new mechanics on Secret Layers because
Yeah,
there are people
so-
that don't buy them and they're like, "That's not fair. Now you have something I can't do."
Yeah. They
But-
could do it. Just buy the card.
Right, but again, money can be an issue for
Yeah.
people. But so that's my caveat to all this is that if you're going to reskin, put effort in,
Right.
Make it thematically fit, make everybody go, yes, that is the perfect choice. And if you can't do that, make a new card.
Oh my gosh. If Duncan, if that was the rule, they would never ever make another card. Because you cannot please everyone.
Okay, so not everyone.
I mean,
but,
that's impossible.
but where most people are going to be like, yeah, I get it. And
Yeah.
at least- so when everybody can at least be, okay, I get it.
Okay.
Like I see how they got from here to here.
Right.
Right.
And so, but there's also a little bit of a problem there because with Ash, you can see why the mechanic that they chose makes sense because he uses a lot of equipment. He turned his hand into a chainsaw when he
Right.
lost his hand, so they did the thing where he can equip for free. However, pure steel paladin, a pure white card for Ash, who's very not pure white, makes no sense at all.
No, that's probably a bad decision. And then also, you said Vicini was Baral, right? But then Fangbearer, doesn't he give poison counters?
He turns Death Touch into
he
poison.
turns Death Touch into poison.
He
He's
gives
toxic.
poison, which isn't that like one of the most is Vicini the one who tries to poison?
no, Wesley.
he tried
they
to
do-
poison Wesley in a challenge of the wits.
Right. So then poison would be kind of cool too.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
But he
but-
failed.
yeah. Well, no, but
It was
Finn-
Wesley. Wesley
Wes-
put the poison in a drink, and then he let Vicini
Oh, that's
choose,
true.
and then
Yep.
they switched it, and then Vicini switched it, thinking he won, but he didn't
So that's why there's
because
poison. then.
Wesley.
No, but it wasn't for. Yeah, it was for the Dread Pirate.
yeah. So
That's
I mean,
why it's poison.
Yeah, but that
No.
That makes sense.
No, it doesn't. It's literally one thing that happened in one scene for
Yeah.
2 minutes.
I know,
but
but
it's done.
But you could make the argument in a logical train of thought as to why that happened. That's all I'm saying. It's not quite as stupid as we're making it out to be.
No, it still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
It's like that
kinda
I
is-
mean,
disagree.
there's a slight maybe that was the argument of the person. who
Oh,
put
I
forward
would
the
gather 100% that's the argument.
but I'm sure. Like
But again,
I said,
I would agree with Duncan. That was pretty lazy. They're like, what can we do for Dread Pirate? Well, he poisoned that guy in one scene, one time, really quickly, and
Right.
he died.
You
one
have-
of the
Finn the
most
Fangbearer.
one of the most popular scenes in movies in general.
Oh no!
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's
in
a
that,
very
in that
I
popular
do
movie.
agree. That is one of the most iconic scenes in the movie. I will agree with that. However, then why name him Dread Pyre Roberts?
Because that's who he was.
That's who he was
that
at the
moment.
time.
He didn't have his mask on.
But he was no,
But
he
he-
did. He did.
yeah, and he was
because
still
his
pretending to be
mask didn't
Dread
come off
Pirate.
until after he saved her.
This is
and he
what's
fell down
fun
there.
about this, guys. We
But-
just sit around. By the way, this 100% represents nerds here. We just sit around and talk about random stuff that doesn't matter at all.
Right, yeah, but-
and
and it's- yes.
that was a fun discussion.
I will
man.
say though, the most notorious scene in that movie by far is Inigo Montoya.
Yeah,
Yes.
you killed my
by
father.
far. That is the most.
But here's the thing: do you even
iconic.
remember what they turned him into? Because I don't.
No, I have no idea.
So
Hopefully, it was
at least
something with
we're-
first strike.
At least we're talking about Vicini and Wesley. I don't remember any of the others.
Yeah,
But
did they even do Andre the Giant? Did they do a version
I
of
don't
To
think
be
they did.
fair, I didn't remember the ones you guys talked about either. But
But anyway, so Secret Layers. So there's a lot of cool stuff they can do, but don't be lazy about it. If you're going to do it, do it. Don't just be like,
Right.
we paid this money to make money, so just give me some stuff so we can put it out there and make that money.
Right.
But so I just, everybody, if you have ones you want to see, let us know. Not that we have any say, but if you have a really cool one, we'll talk about it on the air. We'll say, oh yeah, so-and-so wrote in this and I want to talk about it. But let's move on to Aggro Jeff. What's aggravating you today, Jeff?
Well, so one of the things that aggravates me is like when I'm buying boxes or I'm trying to buy cards, there's multiple different arts. When I first got into Magic, it was a little bit more difficult because like my kids would sometimes buy like Pokemon cards and the art on the Pokemon cards was like really interesting. Like I don't like the cartoon part of it, but like you could tell they put effort into it. Like they had this really cool foiling, the art obviously a lot of effort was put into it. And then I'd look at the Magic cards I'd have, and most of the card was just like boxing, framing, and then words. And then the art was like okay, but it definitely didn't have really cool foiling on most of them. You had to pay more for that. And now in Magic, they can release a really cool full art on a card, but you don't actually get that. If you want that, you have to pay 3 or 4 times as much for it sometimes.
Unless you're just extremely lucky and pull it.
Unless you're just extremely lucky, but in which case you're buying boxes too, and certainly not everybody can afford that. That's pretty expensive. Or I guess you could buy a pack and get lucky.
Yeah.
But you're buying a collector's pack probably and paying what? What are those
No,
now?
they're
like
really
25?
good about putting them in the set
I
boosters
just saw the
too,
Modern
or the
Horizons
play
collector
booster.
pack, and it was like $45 at Target. I was like, what in the world? So my point is, if you can make the better art, just make the better art and just put it on the normal card. And then the extra ought to be that it's foiled or numbered or something like that. It's kind of annoys me though when I'm like, okay, well I have this art. It's not very good. This other art's good, but the card's 3 times as much money. And to me, that's just annoying.
Have you
I
ever
understand
bought
why
more
they do it.
packs to try and get the better arts?
No.
Never?
I've bought collector's packs, as you know, to get
Okay.
the more expensive cards. I don't think I was hunting for specific ones
So if
necessarily.
they put them exclusively in the collector's pack, would that make you want to buy them more?
Buy the well, I understand why they're doing it. It just aggravates me.
Oh, okay.
No, this is not what is a logical annoyance that Jeff has. This is what's aggravating me. And it aggravates me that I
we
can't get
figured
the
out
card
that this
I want.
has nothing to do with logic. We've heard plenty.
No, it doesn't. I'm just aggravated about it. So that's what's aggravating me.
Okay,
Maybe
I'm
other
sure- I'm
people
sure-
feel the same.
I'm sure lots of people feel the same.
Right.
But the funny story is also sometimes the regular art will be worth more than the special art.
That is wild, and that's fine.
But that's because Wizards isn't honest about what they print, how many they print, and people realize quickly, oh, wait, you have the foil version of this full art, you have the regular version of this full art, you have the halo foil version of this full art, you have the textured foil version of this full art, and you only have one version of the regular. That and foil. So
Yeah, and
too.
sometimes the regular one, the art is better than the full art one, which that always
Right.
baffles me.
Well, that's personal preference too, I think.
No, it's what my preference is correct for this section.
Sure.
No response.
Yeah. Yep. I pass priority. Let's move on to that doesn't do what you think it does, not being Jeff, but being a rule. So when is the first opportunity you have to respond during an opponent's turn? So this is a situational thing, but let's assume for the first part of this, 0 triggers are activated by the opponent. When is the first opportunity you have to interact?
Well, your first opportunity to interact is whenever you want, but you're
No.
not game
Oh.
mechanics interacting.
Oh,
You're just
game
making
mechanics,
life
yes.
worse for yourself.
Okay.
'Cause-
Yes, the first rules legal opportunity.
Game interaction. I think it's draw step, right?
No, it is when they moved from untap to upkeep
Okay.
is the first opportunity. Any time that you move between phases is an opportunity to respond. You have to pass priority before you move to that phase. Now, we've said that before. People forget. But the other day at a table full of people that have been playing for a long time, I said to somebody after you draw, before you move to your main phase. And the person's like, you can't do that. I said, yes, I can. And everybody else at the table was either like, no, you can't, or I'm not sure. And I'm like, what? And so I called a judge and I said, can I respond when they try to move from draw phase to main phase? And the judge is like, yeah, of course you can. But, the other 3 people who, again, I said have been playing probably as long as me, some of them longer, either didn't want to commit to saying I was right or were like, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And so it just amazes me that people don't understand that. Whenever you move between phases, you can interact, even if the player has not done anything to trigger that interaction.
Right. Because technically, like you said, everyone has to agree basically to let you go to the next phase.
Right.
So
So-
what you're really saying is whenever you move phases, you're saying untap, attempting to move to upkeep, pass
Yes.
priority. And then it would say pass priority, pass priority, pass priority. Now I'm in my upkeep.
So you cannot interact before they untap. So
Right.
Let's
You-
be clear about that.
yeah.
You
Because
cannot,
you're not
they're
moving-
going to get their untap no
Yeah.
matter what.
Untap always happens.
Yeah, because untap does not use the stack, so therefore there's nothing to respond to.
Right.
And so you can't respond. The other point to mention here, and it's something we've kind of mentioned before, but not necessarily in this specific instance. When I wanted to interact in their draw step, I can only interact after they draw.
Right,
If they have
because
moved
they have
to their draw
priority.
step, they already get to draw.
Right.
So if they move to their upkeep step, all their upkeep triggers are already on the stack.
Right.
You have to respond before that thing starts to stop any of the things that are going to start.
Right.
That's why and my group is very good about knowing how to word when we want to interact before a draw. We say upkeep before draw because you have to do it in the upkeep before they move to draw. So when they're moving from upkeep to draw.
Right.
So just a little thing that I see gotten wrong a lot.
Yeah.
You cannot say, okay, you're in your draw step. Okay. Now, before you draw your card, no, that's not how that works. And the reason why it matters could be if you push them back into a phase where they then can do something else before moving forward to the phase they wanted, that's a thing that happens. So when they're in their second main, and we've said this before, when you want to move to upkeep or to end step, any end step triggers you want to stop, you have to do it before or stifle them. So you have to do it before end step. So anyway, that's just kind of adjacent to that, but just very, very important.
Yeah.
So you can respond, untap before upkeep is the first response, but you can also respond after draw before main phase, but they've already drawn.
Right.
So let's move on to talking about Nadu.
Yes.
So
bird is the word.
Yeah, the bird is the bad word, man. I played it. I felt dirty. I felt like a jerk for hogging the table. I was just sitting there playing
So you felt like
solitaire.
a Simic player?
Yeah. No. It's way worse. It's way worse than what we've ever seen. It's worse than Tulane.
Yeah.
It's worse than it's worse than any of it. Really, it is the worst. If we were talking about CEDH being the only thing we are concerned about, I'd be like, no, it's fine. It's interactable. I do think it's probably the most powerful CEDH
And that's
as far as explosiveness early on.
Banned.
But that's the problem. You are punishing EDH players because you want to keep CEDH and EDH
I know,
together.
we've had this discussion.
So
Most
just-
of us agree that they should be separate ban
Just so
lists.
everyone's aware of what this card is, in case we have people that don't really follow competitive scene. It's 1 blue-green, so 3 total. It's a 3/4. Legendary creature, bird, wizard, flying. Creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes a target of a spell or ability, reveal a top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn.
And the key here is it says your creatures or each creature you control has. That means for each of those creatures, it only triggers twice per turn.
Right, but
But
you have
Nadu is
10
the one
creatures.
giving it to them. So if you flicker him, you reset all the triggers.
Or
Right.
if you have more creatures. And,
Right, if
and
you
that
keep adding
deck has
creatures.
things, as you showed earlier,
Yeah.
that brings more creatures out, and now you have more targets. And most of your targeting is at 0 cost, so
Yeah.
it just keeps the train going.
If you get out Lightning Greaves, or the new one is Shuko, it's an old one, but it's now shot like it went up like
One cost adds
1,000%.
1 or something and costs 0 to equip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it went up like 1,000% just because of Nadu. It's coming back down again. Nadu's price is coming down because people
Because
are
people know it's
expecting
going to get banned in Modern. Yeah.
Well, I think they think it's going to get banned in Commander. And
Yeah, I
I'll
don't
say it
think
right
so.
now. I don't think so. I think the Commanders Council has no guts without Sheldon Menery. I'm just going to say it. They have done nothing since he passed. They are going to continue to do nothing of any significance. And I'm
I
just
don't know.
tired of. I'd rather Wizards have control than them at
That
this
seems a little harsh. Seems
Well,
a little harsh.
Yeah, and like you said, like, so the thing with him is it's because it's such a repeatable ability that's so easy to repeat. I think one of the biggest downfalls of the card is they let the lands come in untapped. That is a big issue.
Yeah.
That even if they just fixed that part, it would significantly slow down this card. Significantly. That alone right there would fix it, at least for the most part.
Or if they said that the ability that you gave the creatures only happened twice a turn. Total.
Right.
Yeah, if it wasn't per creature.
I mean, they limit so many things to once per turn at all.
Right.
And they're saying for each of your creatures, you get this twice per turn.
it is wild.
So that's another possibility, by the way, is that Wizard steps in and says, we're going to errata something so that
wow.
works differently.
I don't that yeah.
I mean, here.
They've done it before.
Yeah,
They
I mean,
can't-
here's.
but in EDH, guys, like I know what you're saying, the banning and what have you, but I think why they're not going to do it is because of roll 0. If someone sits down and they have a Nadu deck, just like the other commanders, even though he's a lot worse, people just need to be like, no.
But here's
and
the
he's
thing,
like,
though.
well,
What
it's
if
not that bad?
What if
It's like,
what
no.
if you built this deck and you want to play it and everyone keeps telling you no? It's like I spent hundreds of dollars potentially on this deck and I'm never gonna get to play because no one wants to play with me.
Yeah,
like,
but
be
again,
a better person. Don't play the deck.
But that means
I did it for trying it out to see if all the hype was. And then once I did it, I'm like, well, I'm definitely going to at least place in the tournament.
Yeah,
That's guaranteed.
that also means that you're not researching what you're buying at all.
there's
Because,
some people who don't.
Well, but again, they would still be got if it was banned, because they wouldn't have researched and looked to see it was banned.
Right. So then,
So this
at least
doesn't
when they go
fix
to sit down at
anything.
the first table and someone's like, "Hey, just so you know, that commander's banned. You're not allowed to play it in this format." They're like, "Oh crap, I didn't know that." That's on them. But when you're going to sit down at a table and someone's like, "No, I refuse to play with you. You're playing
No,
Nadu."
but it's the same thing, because you sit down at the table and you go, "Hey, listen, I understand you did that deck. I just want to let you know, almost no one's going to play that deck against you because it's basically solitaire. It's not enjoyable."
Right.
for
And then if
anyone
that
else.
person
So I'm
says-
not going to play that deck.
If that person says, "Well, is this card like illegal or is it banned?" and you're like, "No, it's just a really powerful card. You're 100% allowed to play it legally. There's nothing stopping you from
But
playing it."
no
They're
one's
like,
going to.
Right. So that's my point, is that everyone just saying, "No, I'm not going to play against that deck," is that's more of a feels bad than it is when you sit down and someone's like, "Hey, just so you know, that card's banned. You can't technically play that card." They're like, "Oh, okay, that's on me. Like I didn't research that. That's my fault. My bad. I didn't realize that." That's on
maybe.
them. But everyone else sitting down and just telling you no constantly, that just sucks. Like no one wants to do that. Like no one likes spending time and effort building a deck, and then everyone just decides, "I'm not going to play against it because I don't like that card."
I really don't feel that bad for that person, because if the first person sits down and goes, "Hey, just want to let you know this is basically a solitaire deck. If you goldfished it at all, you already knew that. You have to have some semblance of knowing what this deck does. If you build it, you should see at that point. But once someone says, 'Hey, look, no one's going to enjoy playing that deck,' if you're still like, 'Well, is it legal?' It's like, dude, someone just told you no one will like that deck. Listen." Like,
Sure.
open up your ears.
So why should they not ban Nadu when they have banned other commanders?
So it's not an issue of should not. I think they should. I don't care if they ban it. I'm fine with them
But
banning
okay,
the
so
card.
what's the argument that they won't when they have banned other commanders? They have banned.
Because I
They
think
banned that one otter
banned-
before he even came out.
Yeah, well, he was a companion, not and
But he's a legendary creature technically.
right. They banned him because his companion allows him to go to any red-blue deck. Because the only caveat is you have to have only one of each type of non-land
Right.
permanent, which you have to in 99% of EDH
yeah.
decks.
So your question was why? Like, what's the argument? I think their only argument is just that they typically don't ban cards that are already being soft banned. Meaning, if they start to see that a lot of people are playing Nadu in casual EDH, then they'll respond. But I don't think a lot of people are going to play Nadu in casual EDH. Therefore, it's not going to force their hand.
I think a lot of people are playing Nadu.
Not in casual EDH.
I think there are. They're complaining about it online, saying they can't.
We'll
stand
see.
it.
Maybe
But
if-
maybe. I mean, I guess maybe you could say, well, the people didn't know, and now they know, and maybe they're not playing them now.
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
I said before in one of our other episodes, if you want the council to ban the card, whenever you see any of them at a shop, pull Nadu out.
Oh
and
yeah,
play
because they
against
all
them.
play at shops. I guarantee you, they don't.
They play other people. I'm sure they do.
I don't think they do.
Because somehow they're banning cards.
I have been at conventions where they even have the opportunity to play against other people, and I've not seen them play against other people.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they play Magic. I mean,
Who
They
plays-
do amongst each other and other celebrities.
I don't know if that's true.
Anyway, but they have banned 9 legendary creatures already.
Right.
So why is Nadu exempt from that list?
Because I don't know, a lot of those creatures go in the 99.
Nadu goes in a 99 easy.
Yeah, but I don't know that he's completely broken in the 99, is he? Because you kind of have to build
he
around
is.
him.
No, you don't.
No, because
Anytime you
Chulane
target-
would love Nadu in his deck.
Right.
Chulane's
Arkelos,
broken
my
by
turtle
itself.
guy, would love Nadu in the deck because as soon as I target him with something, guess what I get to do? I get to put a land in the play.
So
then I
if
get 15 triggers off of my land deck.
If people start putting him in the 99, he starts being a problem. Then maybe they will ban him.
I
But
mean,
we'll see.
there is nowhere you put that card where it's not a problem. Its ability is just. It's
But I think what's really
ridiculous.
broken is when he's a commander.
I mean, he is definitely more broken than Leovold, Emissary of Trest. That's the one that was...
Leovold was really broken, but I'm not sure what it does. Doesn't it like draw cards and it does a bunch of stuff? Can you read the card?
Yeah, hold on one second. I'll pull it up. The one I was just looking at didn't have the actual ratings. Let me... You guys talk while I pull this.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the problem is that yes, everyone's using him as the helm of the commander deck, which is why he's such an issue because you're guaranteed always going to get him out. The problem is though, even if you put him in a 99, he's blue green, so he's in a deck that's usually going to have interaction and ramping and have a decent amount of lands because that's what blue and green do. So anytime you do anything that targets any of your creatures, as soon as he hits the field, you're going to start just getting triggers and you're going to start going off.
So I think
things are going to start happening.
Leovold, Emissary of Trust is an extremely great example of why Nadu should be banned if he's banned. He is cast a black, a green, and a blue. So similar to Nadu, just
With a black in there.
with a black in there instead of a one colorless. Each opponent, he's a 3/3 Elf Advisor legendary. Each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card.
So Nadu does that except way better.
Well, actually, when you read this, my first question really is, if you know this was a problem, why in the world did you create Nadu?
Exactly. And
That's
I think
wild
I
to
think
me.
one of the things that Duncan brought up on our prep sheet is it probably was an oversight because they're more concerned about pumping out sets than they are about playtesting the cards.
So
that they're
I'm
pumping
gonna
out.
I'm gonna go to that fun area of like conspiracy, which is always fun to dabble in. I don't wonder if they knew exactly what they were doing.
So I don't. So let me explain why I put that note in there. This set was absolutely horrible for them knowing what they put on the card and how it works. The new wheel.
That thing's broken too. The wording's wrong. In it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, which they apparently are fixing.
And previous
it, but it's
sets,
really
they have
bad.
been so careful about wording that they have built a paragraph where they could have said it in 3 sentences to make sure that the wording is okay. Now, there
Right.
have been other sets where they broke it. We talked about one in the errata episode where we talked about they had to create a new whole
I wonder if
mechanic.
we're finally seeing the cost of Hasbro.
I mean,
Because didn't they lay off people from the Wizard side even though they didn't need to?
yeah,
Yeah.
they did. That Wizard
And if
side
you
is their
lay
most
people
profitable.
off, you have less people to be checking this stuff.
Well, I also think they're pressuring them to pump out sets. Last
Oh,
year we had
100%.
12 sets. Guess how many we have this year?
12
sets.
already.
Because no, that's now because they announced that new foundation set that now makes 12. I think they want that to be the norm. A set of
Well,
months.
and Bloomburrow's coming out.
yeah, but I
right?
think he's
That's August.
including that in the
yeah,
12.
Yeah, that's in the 12. The July is Assassin's Creed. August is Bloomborough.
The foundation set.
Is November. September is the horror set. What's it called? Dusk Hollow or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
If Hasbro is pushing this hard, I wonder if they're preparing for a sale. They're trying to sell in the next year.
There
or so.
is has always been rumors that they may sell off Wizards of the Coast.
I bet they do. I bet that's what they're doing. If they're pushing this hard.
No, they're pushing this hard because the rest of the company is tanking, and this is their only moneymaker. This is
get
supporting the whole rest of it. So they are like, we need you to pump out the money. So we want 12 sets, and we want them all to be bangers, and we don't care if it's broken. Because what does Hasbro care? Wizards cares. Hasbro.
Well,
doesn't care.
Hasbro would care if they're planning on keeping it because you've got to keep it healthy going forward. So, but if they're not planning on keeping it, then it's
Hasbro
just a
has
matter
never-
of generating as much revenue as you can, as much profit as you can to make the balance sheets look good so you can sell.
The fact that all their IPs aren't doing well is proof that Hasbro does not care about making it not broken.
Well,
they're just
so some of
doing-
their stuff isn't doing well because people don't buy toys anymore, and and cartoons are not as profitable as they used to be. So,
well,
because
anyway, but so that's why I put in there about that, because in my opinion, I think that the wording on Nadu I don't think they meant it to be this broken. I think they thought it was not going to be this broken.
Right.
I don't think they play tested it enough. And the wheel is another example. For those that don't know, the wheel has an X in the description, and from the same set has an X in the description, and the X does not say you must pay X anywhere on it.
Well, I think X can be 0, right?
X can be 0. You can choose 100 for X.
Right,
There's
but
nothing,
you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, there's nothing that says you
Yeah.
have to pay X.
Right.
Yeah.
It says you may pay X. Well, if you may pay something, it means you have, by the rules the way they are written now, not on this card. I'm saying
It could say 100 and you may pay it.
yes, but it's already set at 100.
Right.
And since you choose X, you can choose any number you want.
And just make them
So you can just draw the entire library.
Right. And I think it's X
they
into
get to
energy.
choose if they draw,
Yeah.
don't they?
What's that?
They get to choose if they draw?
Yeah, but you're
But
going
you're
to draw
drawing your own deck.
and
Yeah,
win.
that's wild.
I mean, now they have made an emergency ruling for the judges that now says it needs to be played rules as intended, not rules as written, which means you must pay X, not you may pay X.
What's interesting about it too is no one was abusing this at tournaments because they didn't
because they told the judges.
Right.
No,
they
did not know.
No, this is true. So it's because in the beginning, yes, nobody knew. And then the moment everybody knew, the judges were told.
Yep.
And so at that point, the judges started on their own saying, we are going to play this rules as intended, not rules as written. And then Wizards finally came out and said, yes, that is.
I guess my point
direction.
on some of this is if people that invested that they're in a tournament, right, didn't catch it, eventually someone caught it. But they're harder to catch than you think. But that's why Wizards needs all the people they can to be checking this stuff.
Well, and you need high quality people.
Yeah.
I'm sure they cut off people
Invested
near the
people.
top that actually.
Yeah, because
You
they
know,
cost
Oh yeah,
so much
probably
money.
that like nerdy dude who stays in his office all the time and doesn't have people skills, but he's the guy who protects you from all these issues. And,
Yeah, he knows all
Right.
the rules.
but he's
and
not very
like,
likable. So they're like, "You're gone."
Excuse me. Point of fact.
The stapler guy,
Yeah.
from Office Space.
Yep. But but going back to my point, I think that if you don't ban Nadu, then free Leovold.
Well, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I don't normally do this, but I'm gonna say Wizards, you screwed up. There's no excuse. You got to do better. This is.
And I would
stupid.
also argue you got a free Golos.
I mean,
Golos is your argument that it should be as rule 0. Golos was played for a long time. I mean, not super long. It wasn't like years and years and years, but
Yeah.
a long time.
I have no problem with
with
unbanning
rule 0
Golos.
being fine, and then because he was taking over the CEDH tournaments, they banned him. So
yeah. Well, because I will say too, I think there was an article
Have
that
a
came out
separate ban
that says Nadu has like over 50% win rate right now.
No, it was 5 out of the 8. 5 out of the top 8, 5 of them were Nadu.
Right.
out of
For
the
the
top
modern
16, 8 of
tournament,
them
I
were
think.
Nadu.
Right. It has a extremely high win rate in CDH.
So think about that. Out of the top 16, 8 of them. So only 3 of them lost that round.
That's wild.
Right.
Yeah. So because then 5 of them continued on.
And that's
to the
my
8.
point. His win rate is so high.
It's extremely high.
And you don't even have to do much.
Well,
you
my
don't-
deck was 36 lands. The stuff I needed, like my most expensive card was 3 mana.
Right.
This might help us. This might help our argument because they have said they're not going to ban for CEDH. They're screwed. If it's a 50% win rate, they've got to ban this.
Yeah.
Right.
For CEDH, which means they'd ban it for EDH. And if they don't want to do that, they really need to have separate ban lists. So they might figure out they need to have separate ban lists.
Oh,
and that would be huge for us.
I would love that. But again, I don't think they're going to do anything significant.
Probably not.
I think they're going to do, to me, I look at them on the same level I look at Wizards.
Yeah.
They're going to do as little as possible to just be left alone.
Well, that is typically the best way to avoid any
Yeah. I mean,
real vitriol.
the big thing with this card is, yes, it's hard to interact with because of the fact of what it does. So as soon as you target it, you're going to trigger it. And then on top of that, trying to interact with it, like you said before, you have 99 cards in your deck. the chances that you're always going to have interaction to try to stop this thing is slim to none.
Your best
It's
hope is a counter before he comes out.
Yeah, it's either counter him when he gets out, or you have to do something that
And
forces
actually,
the person.
I did forget to mention too, the first game when I went on turn 3, Nadu came out fine, but when I tried to play Lightning Greaves, they did try and counter it, but I had a Fierce Guardianship in my hand.
Right.
So,
So you had a counter.
I had a counter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. He's green-blue, so that's a great color to protect your commander. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the only couple of things I can think of that would slow him down and or keep him from being an issue is things that are going to force players to sacrifice creatures. So you're not targeting anything; they're just sacking stuff, which would help keep it from getting out of control.
Yeah, but how much do those cards cost? Like,
I mean, there's a lot of them. Like for example, the one that I actually came across when I was trying to find cards that upgrade my Prosper deck is Sudden Edict. It's 1 and a black. It's an instant. Target player sacrifices a creature. The fun part though is it's split second. So as soon as when you cast Nadu and it hits, whenever you go to cast your first thing, if it's your only creature out, in response, I'm going to Sudden Edict you. You have to sack him at split second. And it has to resolve first.
So ideally, you want one other creature out when Nadu comes out. So assuming that, what do you counter?
Right. So that's the
or
thing.
What do you make him sack? Do you make him sack when he has the one creature, or do you make him sack so that when Nadu's out, he has to choose the other one, then he only has Nadu? Either way, I'm getting something.
Right. But and then like that's my point is like even with things like this, there's still ways for Nadu to get around it and still go off.
And you're also playing a 2 costs removal card in CEDH when Nadu's going to win on turn 3. It's pretty hard. It's not great.
Well,
I mean,
but the advantage, the big advantage of this one, like I said, is because it's split second. It has to resolve. He has to resolve this before you can do anything else. It doesn't allow him to respond, and that's why this one I feel like is a little bit has a step up because of the fact that it's split second.
It's not
which
bad
helps.
tech.
So, and then the only other thing I can think of is the new smoke bomb artifact that's coming out from Assassin's Creed. All creatures gain shroud, so he can't target his own stuff anymore.
Right. That's
actually a really good one.
That will be a really
flash,
and that's colorless, right?
Colorless. 3, it costs 3 to get out, and it has flash. And all creatures gain shroud. And at the beginning of my upkeep, at the beginning of that player's upkeep, the one who casts it, they sacrifice it.
The only challenge with that is 3 mana.
Right, exactly.
Well, and I would also say Torpor Orb will be another one to get in.
Right.
Because then permanents entering the battlefield don't trigger abilities. So therefore, my lands coming in don't trigger Scoot Swarm. They don't
trigger all your
trigger
stuff.
Bristle Bill.
But again, like someone would basically have to build, like their whole deck would have to be an you get to do things deck, and then like somehow they have to fit a win con in there.
Right.
Like there's not a really good answer to this creature. So at the end of all this, I think Wizards made a mistake. We're not paying attention clearly at all to what they were doing because 2 cards came out from this set that both just
had to be worded wrong.
Right. 2 absolutely should be banned. If the other cards that are banned that Duncan read off are banned, this card does that but better and a lot quicker and a lot more gross. This card needs to be banned.
Yeah, Duncan, I agree.
That's it. There's no getting around it. It's over 50% win rate. You're going to see it all the time until they ban it. No one's going to want to.
Hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, I hope.
I don't think they will.
But he's an issue.
But yeah, Nadu is a bad bird, and I played him. I felt dirty. I have still kept him together to pull out in case of emergency when somebody's just playing something.
Break this glass in case of emergency.
Yeah, somebody's playing something and just being smug and like nobody. Okay, all right.
No one can beat me. All right.
Well, here we go.
Out comes Nadu.
Dust off Nadu and be like, here you go. And I put a certified jank sticker on him too. Cool Stuff Games has certified jank.
Oh, really?
Staggers. So I put that on there.
Nice.
I thought about putting another sticker on there. It says for rectal use only, but.
Okay, with that transition, let's move to tips for new players.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, that was great. Okay, so we're gonna jump back on the learning the lingo of the format, and the reason why I picked this is because of us talking about Nadu. Certain words and certain texts are important for him. You know, we talked about ETPs before. I think a couple episodes ago we talked about what that means and how those work. So this one we're going to go over 5 new terms. So hexproof. This is protection from spells your opponents control.
Or targets at all.
Yeah, that target spells your opponent's control. So, you know, destroy target creature. If your creature has hexproof, doesn't work.
Or abilities.
Yeah, classic example of this is Swiftfoot Boots. It's most notorious artifact. Pay 2. Pay 1 to equip it. Equip creature has hexproof and haste. Item number 2, Shroud. This one's a little bit different. Shroud is this creature can't be targeted by any spells or abilities, including your own. Lightning Greaves is this. So 2 to cast Lightning Greaves, 0 to equip. Equipped creature has Shroud and haste. Now, the reason why that's important is because we kind of just mentioned with Smoke Bomb coming out in Assassin's Creed, Shroud doesn't allow you to target with any that creature be targeted by anything, so including your own abilities. So, for example, in Duncan's Nadu deck, he does have Lightning Greaves in there, but whenever he equips that creature with Lightning Greaves, that creature can no longer be targeted till that comes off, which is why it's important for him to have 2 creatures out with Lightning Greaves specifically, because he can bounce them back and forth between the two.
And that is another thing you can do. If somebody has Lightning Greaves, and you can make that would be when you play the sack thing, because if I have 2 creatures in Lightning Greaves, and I move to equip Lightning Greaves to Nadu, like that's when you choose sacrifice a creature, because now I can't move, like there's no unequip.
Right, there's no unequip. Right, exactly. So
it does equip. It exists as a mechanic, but nothing inherent in Nadu or Lightning Greaves has that.
Right, exactly. So Shroud does that. Death Touch is any amount of damage.
Well, before Death Touch.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget Ward.
Ward, yeah. So Ward is another one that is it's going to be lined up more with Hexproof, but it's a payable Hexproof. So essentially it allows your stuff not to be targeted unless they pay this.
Whatever that is.
Right. So Ward can be anything from, we've seen the Ward cost as high as 4 actual mana, 1 mana to 4 mana. I think it's the boots they came out with that it makes it Ward 4.
I think there's something crazy that has like Ward 6 or Ward 8.
Yeah.
But that's like a one thing.
Yeah. So it's a cost you just pay into, or the cost could be something, sacrifice legendary creature or sacrifice an enchantment, sacrifice a land, discard cards. The Ward can be anything, but it is a payable hex. Yeah, pay life. So it's a payable hexproof, is what Ward is.
Yeah,
so,
they can get around it if they pay that
correct.
fee.
If they don't, then technically for the rules, they burn the spell if they choose not to pay it after they targeted it, which is kind of annoying. But a lot of times in casual play, they'll let you just put the spell back in your hand because there's a lot of things to keep track of. So Ward is a payable version of hexproof that allows you to target it if you pay the Ward cost, whatever that may be. Next one is going to be Death Touch. Death Touch is whenever this creature deals damage to a creature, destroy that creature. That includes even if it's not lethal damage to that creature. So any amount of damage that creature deals. This one is fun because there's a couple of artifacts you can equip to a creature that has Death Touch. For example, my Prosper deck, I have the Viridin Bow in it, where it says tap this creature, deal 1 damage to any target. Well, he has Death Touch, so if I deal 1 damage to an 11/11, it dies because he has Death Touch and he's dealing that 1 damage. So Death Touch is any amount of damage that this creature deals. The receiving creature dies. And then the last one, the 5th one, is going to be Lifelink. So this is whenever this creature deals damage, you gain that much life. And the reason why I bring that one up is we have a couple of people at the shop that think whenever the creature takes damage also it counts. It's not the case.
No.
It's only when it deals damage that it gains you the life.
But there are enchantments that do say whenever this creature takes damage you gain life.
There are enchantments that do that. And so the cool thing with Lifelink though too is if you over damage something, so let's say I hit someone, I have a 5/5 and they had a 1/1, I still get all 5 of that, even though it was only the 1 that was lethal. All 5 of it, I still get to gain the life off of. So, make sure that even if you're hitting something that's smaller and you're killing it with lethal after 2 damage, and you have still 3 damage sitting there, still assign it to the creature because you still gain all that life. If they don't have trample, obviously.
So the other one I would throw out there, but it's not a current mechanic. It is on older things. Protection from.
Right.
There is some stuff now that has come out with that, but protection from differs from Ward and from Hexproof and from Shroud.
Yeah. So
which of course the swords are obviously
all the swords have
famous
them,
for being
which 2 of them are being reprinted in the
from.
Assassin's Creed. Feast and Famine and Light and Shadow, I think we said were the 2 that are coming out. And yeah, what
they
protection
will have come out by the time.
By the time this is out, they'll already be out and reprinted. But so protection from is based off that specific thing. Now, the cool thing they did recently was with the 1 sword of wealth and power was protection from instants and
sorceries.
Sorceries. So a card type. Previously, it's usually been colors. So whenever you have protection from a color, anything of that color cannot target or
damage you,
or whatever the case may be.
But board states, just to be clear, things that affect the board still affect ward,
Right.
Still affect shroud,
Hexproof.
still affect hexproof,
and protection.
And protection.
Because it's specifically targeting. Whenever it's
all those
the whole-
others, it have to be targeted. If it's
So
not targeted, it's not protected.
someone does, a board wipe, destroy all creatures, board wipe, Wrath of God. Even if you have protection from white, ward 4, haste, and shroud, hexproof and shroud, doesn't matter.
And the other
It's
thing
hitting
is, you could have protection from a white creature, right? But
Yep.
if that creature says creatures that block this creature get destroyed at end of combat, your creature would still get destroyed because that is not a targeted effect.
Right.
So
So
just be aware of that too. Things that do not say target, do not target.
correct.
If it will always say target. If it says choose, it's not a target.
Correct.
Very important distinction.
So,
Absolutely.
But there's a couple more terms that you guys should familiarize yourself with. They're pretty common in the game, and just be aware of what they do and how they work, and how to use them and abuse them, as it were.
Yep. So those are good ones. And very poignant with Nadu because yes, the lightning greaves, which is one of the things that Nadu players use, does give him shroud, so he then cannot be targeted.
Correct.
So they have to get that off if they want to target him again. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for listening. We want to thank Jack May at Info Pilgrims for editing. You can email us at cast@commanderspod.com. Head to our Patreon at patreon.com/commanderspod. And you can check out our website at commanderspod.com. And remember, kill Andrew first.
If you can.